Welcome to the Vaguely Familiar podcast, a podcast where we talk about movies, cricket, and music. Yes, today we had Emaad Paracha on the podcast, and we talked about a lot of other things. Yeah, Emaad is a blogger. He is a cloud consultant. He's an astrophysicist, and just an overall eventful guy, man. One of the more interesting conversations we've had on this podcast. Went in a lot of different places about cloud consulting and then about astrophysicism or astrophysics, I guess. Yeah. And he was basically like our very own Neil deGrasse Tyson. Absolutely. If Pakistan or if the Desi community ever needed one, it's Emaad Paracha. It's Emaad Paracha. And it was just wonderful hearing him talk about all of the various aspects of his life. Multifaceted is a word that I would use to describe this person. And it was just a lovely time. It was. You can find Emaad on Instagram at Paracha Explorers. Yeah. All the everything in the bio. Everything will be in the description below. You should check him out. He's great. I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. If you do, and you should check us out as well. Yeah. And if you like the podcast, like, subscribe, leave a comment, whatever they do on the internet, it just helps the algorithm. It helps us. I hope you guys sit back and relax for this hour-long Emaad Paracha. See you soon. Live. Emaad Paracha.
Nice to meet you guys.
Emaad, this is a long time coming.
Very long time.
Messaging you for a very long time to have this in person. The first in-person guest after the rebrand. That's true.
No, yeah, I remember. You messaged me in December or January, but then I decided to stay out of the country for longer because of the lockdown. So, but I'm finally glad though that we're here.
Yeah. Emaad is
very glad. Yeah.
He's a globetrotter. It's hard to get a hold of. So for you to be here, thank you for taking the time out.
I think globetrotter is a bit of an overstatement, but
come on, man. No,
we were sure.
So for this, in preparation of this podcast, we did a lot of research. At least I did, because I don't personally know you. So I went through a lot of like your Instagram, your website, and I was like very, very impressed. You have quite a repertoire of traveling the world.
Thank you. That's actually surprising, but
no, I mean it's pretty cool. Like I don't think we're similar ages, and it's very hard for people our age or just to find their way out and travel. Like, how did you know how to do that?
I think so with traveling, I think it's very, you have to know when you want to travel, where you want to travel beforehand. I mean, as you probably know, if you would just want to do leisure traveling, as you probably know, flights can cost a lot if you're just buying them the day before or something like that. So for me as a student, when I was traveling a lot, there was a lot of deal hunting that was going on, looking for budget flights, looking for itineraries that can cost me, I mean, close to nothing or nothing per se. So there's a lot of that, but then it's also a little bit of passion. So I try to save up. Other people would try to save up for other things. Yeah. So I would try to save up.
You're not really like investing in a mortgage as much as you are in experiences.
Well, I think those are important things, but sacrificing on the less important things.
Yeah, for sure.
Such as, I don't know, it could be.
But I think a lot of your traveling has got to do with your currency project.
Yeah,
and that's actually amazing. I actually knew of you before I even met you, because and that's kudos to you. There was this meme page in Pakistan. I think I followed it. It was called Sarkazimistan. And they shared your currency project, and I saw it, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. Yeah. This guy who looks around about our age is traveling Pakistan, going to the places where the currency, the notes are being taken. And how did you get an idea for that? Yeah.
That was a very, it honestly came out of nowhere because you guys would know. So in Pakistan, there's the 20 rupee note, and on the back of it, there is a picture of Mohenjo-daro. Yeah. And I've seen that picture in all of my social studies classes growing up. So when I was young, in every single book, whenever we learned about Pakistan history, there was that picture of Mohenjo-daro, that iconic picture. That's also on the back of the 20 rupee note. Yeah. So the first time it actually came up was when it was a family trip to Mohenjo-daro. And we were just visiting it for like a day and then coming back. And I had a crumpled up 20 rupee note in my wallet. And we had a guide over there. So I asked him, hey, where was this picture taken? So the guide showed me the exact spot. I took a picture and then I put it up on Facebook. I put it up on Reddit.
Yeah.
Reddit is the one that actually got me thinking, okay, this is a very good idea.
Yeah.
Because everyone over there was like, oh, I wonder if you've done this at other places. And I was
Yeah.
like, why not actually? That is a very good idea. And frankly, it gave me a really good excuse to travel.
Yeah.
Like you guys are saying, a lot of future travel was actually planned sort of around that, around the currency project, where I'd find an excuse essentially to go to different places around Pakistan. I went to K2 in Pakistan just to take a picture with the 50 rupee note in K2.
That's insane, man.
I was watching all of your stories on Instagram while you were on that trip. I think you posted them after you came back.
Yeah, because there's no...
I was just praying for your safe travels because I think that whole trek was around about 300 kilometers on foot.
Yeah, 250 to 300
Right.
round trip, basically,
Right.
on
Wow.
foot. And that was... the way I describe it to people is that it was a once in a lifetime and only once in a lifetime opportunity. So
Did you
you go only once, and after that you're like, nah.
Did you
I
do
don't-
any like preparation for it? Like, because if you were aware that it's going to be a long trek,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
us being stable and stagnant in this homeostasis can't just walk up and do 250 km. Did
So
you like try like track before or
I
gym?
didn't try a track before.
Yeah.
I did work on getting myself more fit before that. I was
Yeah.
in Canada before that.
Yeah.
I did work on that, and then when I went to Pakistan, a week, 2 weeks before that, I used to hike a lot in Islamabad because there's a lot of hiking trails in Islamabad, really good ones as well. But more of the preparation for K2 is mental. You need a lot of mental preparation because, contrary to what you might think, that people occasionally think, oh, it's very cold over there. There's a lot of snow. There's a lot of there's a lot of cold weather, and you have to drudge through or climb mountains, etc. It's the first 2 days are just walking on sand in the sun, and the temperatures can go up to like 30-40 degrees Celsius.
Oh my God.
So that in itself is a big mental challenge because you have to walk for like 8 hours a day,
Yeah.
around 30 kilometers per day,
Yeah.
which is a lot if you're walking in the sun under like 40 degrees Celsius weather. Like
And
we
I'm
used-
guessing like you're carrying all of your baggage, whatever you're...
the first day I tried to carry a lot of my baggage. So we did have porters. Everyone who goes there always hires porters who carry like 20 kg per person on them. So initially I just had a bag and I thought, you know what, I'll carry a bunch of stuff as well on my end. But then after the first day, I realized that's not a good idea. I just gave it to the porters, but I still kept a bag of, literally my bag had another bag in it, it's something called a camelback or camel pack, which has a spout coming out of it. It's for water.
Okay.
So my bag only had like 2-3 liters of water, which itself is like 3 kilograms. So holding up 3 kilograms and walking for 8 hours is not a pretty sight. But
And how
but
long was that
afterwards-
trek? Just that was 2 days, you said?
which one?
The one walking on the sand and underneath the sun.
Yeah, that's 2 days,
straight
and then you get onto the glacier.
Mhm.
That itself is a big challenge as well because the glacier is not really an icy glacier.
Yeah.
There's ice underneath, but on top of it is just rocks. Because I mean, over the years and stuff,
Yeah.
there's been rocks that fall down from mountains.
Landsliding.
Yeah, landslide and stuff. So it's just rocks, and it's huge boulders. Like I mean, I'm showing the size like this, but it's
Yeah.
some are like as big as this room.
For
Wow.
sure.
And you step on it. If you step on one end of it, it'll tilt the other way. So it's it wasn't even, there's no ground that they're stuck in. So you could literally fall down, and you don't even know how far you're gonna fall down.
At what point were you like, this is not a good idea?
The first day, but before the rocks even came in,
Yeah.
I think the first day it was mostly just sandy.
Yeah.
And occasionally we used to get a couple of hills, so we'd have to go up, come down, which was also really tough in the
Yeah.
weather, especially
What month did you go to?
in July.
So, okay,
You
so it's
know,
like peak summer as well.
peak summer. You can't go otherwise because
Yeah.
then it's going to snow a lot
Yeah.
at K2.
Yeah.
But we went, I remember the first day it was extremely hot. I got a heat stroke the first day because honestly was not prepared for what was going to happen. And the first day, the first camp, so there's some organized camps.
Yeah.
The first 2-3 days, there are organized camps. The rest are just on glaciers where you can't really organize stuff.
Yeah.
By organized, I mean there's some portable porta potties at that place, but you still have to live in a tent.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's like a campground essentially. So the first campground where we had to go to, that was at the way you had to get there was there's a river running through a ridge.
Yeah.
You're on one side of it, and you can see the camp on the other side. If there was a bridge between you where you are standing and the camp,
Yeah.
it would be like a 10-minute walk, and you'll get there.
Yeah.
And you've been walking for 7-8 hours under the hot sun on sand. And you see the camp right in front of you. You just have to cross a river. That's it.
Yeah.
You just have to, if only you had a bridge.
Yeah.
But the bridge is actually an hour away. So you can see the camp. And the bridge is actually an hour away. And then you have to walk to there and then back an hour as well. So 2 hours away.
Reminds me of Dunkirk.
Oh, wow.
Where they can see the shore, but they can't do anything
Yeah,
about
you can't do anything about it. It's right there, but you can't get it. And I had a heat stroke at that time. And like I said, it's all about your mental ability, how strong you are mentally. And I remember I had a heat stroke, and in heat, I don't know how other people have heat stroke. So in my specific heat stroke, whenever I have a heat stroke, only during K2
Yeah.
I've had them. But I just laid down on the sand, and I was like, you know what? I want to go to sleep, which was very dangerous of me to do.
Yeah.
But I had a friend of mine with me. He was sitting with me, and he was tired too. So we both just slept in the sun, which was the weirdest thing in the world. And there were people passing by, and they're like, "Are you guys okay?" And we're like, "No."
That is insane.
We just slept in the sun. I wish there were pictures of that. And then we woke up and we threw up.
Oh my God.
And then we had this thing called ORS. Right? If you guys know about it, it's in Pakistan.
Of course, yeah.
It's just sugar and salt.
Citrus and
citrus, sugar, and salt. Yeah. So somebody passing by gave us that. So we mixed it into water, and I don't know what happened. We covered the next 2 hours in like 30 minutes.
Wow.
It was just amazing stuff.
Yeah.
But it was probably a combination of sleeping and also,
well rested.
Really,
Shout out ORS.
Shout out ORS.
Not a sponsor, but you know what?
Agreed.
Get in touch.
And even when you got to K2, I remember you were waiting for that perfect shot.
Oh yeah.
There was clouds over there. The sun wasn't out. It was hard to get that perfect shot that you were looking for.
Yeah.
And then there came a brief moment where you
got that shot.
You got the shot.
Oh yeah.
How satisfying was that? Yeah.
That was again. It's all about your mental game. So by the time we got to K2, the day we got to K2, it was covered with clouds.
Yeah.
And the locals over there were telling us, "Oh, you know what? There's always clouds in the evening. Wait until tomorrow, and it's all going to be clear, and you're all going to go. You're all going to see K2." Because a lot of people, I've known people who have gone all the way to K2. So it's like 6 days of trekking to K2.
Yeah.
150 kilometers. And then you don't even see it.
Yeah.
It's just clouds.
Cover,
It's just cloud cover because it's a huge mountain. So it attracts its own weather system.
Yeah.
But the day we got there, it was covered in clouds. We got there by like the evening, so 4 or 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Covered with clouds. So we're like, okay, let's sleep. And then we wake up tomorrow and we'll be good. The next day we wake up and it's raining. So we can't even see like the mountains next to us, let alone K2.
Yeah.
And all of us were super dejected. And we're like, you know what? We have to stay here until it clears up.
Yeah.
And everyone else around us were telling us that the weather is going to be bad for the next like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
And we didn't have enough food to last that. And all of us, the whole group, were like, you know what? We're going to stay here. We'll eat nothing if we have to. We want to stay here until we see K2. But thankfully, that day we went all the way to K2's base camp and then back. And in the evening, the clouds finally cleared up enough that I was able to take that one picture. That I was very happy about. And then I was satisfied. Then I'm like, you know what? Whatever happens, I just hope my phone is safe.
Yeah.
And that's it. I just need my phone to be safe and with me at all times. Everything else, I don't even care about. I lose a leg, I don't care. I have the picture.
How did that whole
insane.
trek, that experience, like, did that change you in any way? Like, as you keep talking about that mental aspect of being mentally strong to get there and then come back.
Mhm.
So did that change you in any way?
I think so, in at least in a physical sense. So me in the past, I always, whenever I used to, go exercising or something like that, I always used to say, oh, you know what, I this is not for me. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And to be honest, it did spill over to other things in life as well. Where if there's something that hard, especially physically, I would say, if there's something extremely tough to do, then I always look back to that time and I'm like, you know what, if I could do that, then this should essentially be a piece of cake. But it did spill over to other things as well in life, in studies, in at work as well, where it's just a game of, you know what, you don't have to quit. You can't quit mentally. If you quit mentally, you're going to be gone. And I've had friends who've told me, we actually had a couple of people who could not complete the trip to K2. They actually had to go back. They had to turn back. And this happens on every trip to K2. People turn back. And it's just a matter of they think they can't do it. But you essentially have to just power through. And that did teach me a lot in terms of that, where it's all about your mental capacity and learning how to power through.
So the body follows mind. Yeah, and you're just describing the trip up to the base camp. There's a whole other trip from the base camp to people who are trying to summit the mountain.
Oh yeah,
like that's a whole other ordeal. You were just trying
that's
to get
a
to the
whole
base
other
camp.
ordeal. Yeah, that's the
God.
one that people talk about in news and media, because everyone can honestly get to the base camp.
Okay, yeah.
Getting to the base camp is not something that's it's not a dangerous journey. Yes, it is dangerous in the sense that if you do something really bad, you could die.
Yeah.
But you need to do something really, really bad to be able to do that.
Like dehydrate yourself or
take the wrong step or something like that. That is possible. But the actual journey for mountaineers and stuff is when they get to the base camp of the mountain and then they go up. That's where it actually starts. And sitting down at the base camp, I looked up and it didn't look that bad, but I'm sure if I was up there, that would have been extremely
That's
dangerous.
Insane, man. That's awesome. So, and then from there, you decided to hit all of the all the Pakistani currencies, right?
No, that was actually my last one.
Okay.
K2 was actually my last one.
Yeah.
Because obviously
the other ones were a lot more easier.
You don't have to trek.
Yeah.
You don't have to trek all the way there. All the other ones you could actually do. I didn't do them in a day. I did them over the course of like 2 years. But you could do them in a day if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't be able to do K2 in a day.
That's way.
K2, you need 2 weeks. That one picture. Before I went to K2, I always wondered if only Pakistan did not put K2 there.
Yeah.
K2 on one of the notes.
Your
how
life would
easy,
be so much easier.
Agreed. But then again, like that's what made the whole project worth it in a sense. Yeah. Exactly, because I had to do that one last one to be able to complete everything.
And I think that's what can make your project so special, is because nobody else, I'm not sure if they have the capacity to trek K2 for that specific picture.
No, people do go to K2 for that specific picture.
Okay.
But yeah, like you said, not many people who have that thought, you know what, I'm going to go with the 50 rupee note or something like that. Not many people with that thought would go.
At home, you're like, oh my God, the note. I think you would jump off.
I had 10 notes with me. I made sure I had 10 notes with me. So whatever happened, every single day, whenever I was packing my bag, like I said before, when I had my whole bag with me. I had a bunch of stuff in it. I had like a camera in it and a couple of other things that I didn't want to give the porter. At the end, I gave everything to the porters to keep in the big duffel bags they had, but I made sure the 50 rupee notes were in my own bag.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't weigh that much, but I still made sure that they were with me at all times because I could not afford losing those.
Does that money then have like certain sentimental value for you? Like, do you still have that note, that specific note that you took at Mohenjo-daro or at K2 or?
No, I gave that note. I remember I gave that away to the porters over there. Sure. At the end of the trip, we just gave cash to all the porters and everything. So I think that in itself was a bit meaningful, giving it back to the people over there. Yeah. But the picture itself is something that's extremely memorable because whenever I see the picture, I know, okay, you know what? I can't really put in or picture the effort, or somehow put in that effort in the picture. I should say the picture isn't really telling of that effort.
Yeah, for sure.
Essentially, but
That's
for me
crazy.
personally, that's something that it brings back memories of the whole trip, of walking every single day.
And that entire
stuff.
trip was how long?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks from flying into Skardu
Yeah.
to flying out of Skardu. It was 2 weeks. It's Sunday to Sunday.
Wow.
So it was,
And then you took that currency project internationally. You went to UAE, you went to Oman, Panama, Canada, the US.
yeah.
So is this now your life goal to just go to every single country?
To be honest, it is now. It definitely is.
Good goal.
Yeah.
That's a really good excuse to just travel places. Like, how
Agreed.
else would you?
And the best part is a lot of people over there, actually, a lot of people in those places, in those countries, wherever I go, they actually don't know about that themselves. So when I went to Panama, it was on my last day in Panama that most of the pictures that I took in Panama were of coins because they don't have their own notes. They only use US dollars. But the coins have certain places in Panama City. And so I hired an Uber driver to take me to all of these different places. And I was like, hey, look, I want to go to all these different places. I want to take these pictures. And what I'll do is as soon as I get there, I'll change the destination on the Uber app.
Yeah.
So then it'll be going somewhere else. So you get the money as well.
Yeah.
And he was actually willing to, he after the first destination, he's like, you know what? It's okay. I'll take you.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. Because he was like, oh, this is a very cool project.
Yeah.
And he had never even noticed that himself. He had never seen that before. And I remember there was a place where I couldn't actually find the exact location. So he actually came with me and he spoke to the locals over there because I didn't know Spanish. He spoke to the locals over there and he actually tried to find the exact spot. And he even looked at the picture afterwards. He's like, no, this angle is not good. Should take a different angle. And I'm like, okay. He's giving great advice. Yeah.
Speaking of criticism, when you told people initially that you were going to, like, this was something you were passionate about and you wanted to do, did you get like a blowback from like family, friends, people looking at you, like giving you side eye? Really? That's what you want to do?
Initially, a little bit.
Because at the end, it is a creative endeavor that you're about. And creative endeavors, I have noticed, get the most flack. Like even when we were starting our podcast, we're like, really? Who's gonna listen to that? Right? Like just people around us, and like we were like, yeah, maybe you're right. But like you actually went out of your way to do this, and I'm just wanting to know how you were reacting to the criticism that was around you, if there was it.
There wasn't that much, I would say, compared to probably other artistic endeavors. Thankfully, I'm very thankful for that. And there were a lot more, I would say, supporters of this, or people who thought, okay, you know what, this is really cool. You should actually do this. But in terms of the criticism, it was something that I personally did not try to, let that stop me from something. There were people who did support it. There were people who loved the project. Even before I had actually gone to K2, one August 14th, it did become viral on social media as well. And so I was happy at that. And I'm like, you know what? This is actually more fuel to go to K2 than it is to shy away from it. And even in the comments, I remember there were some people saying, oh, when you have a lot of time, this is what you do.
Of course.
There's people who would say that. But,
of course, yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're not the ones doing it.
No,
and it doesn't really matter to me what they say or not. This is something I wanted to do for myself. It's a good excuse to not only travel, like you said, but to learn about different places, learn about the history of different places. And it gives a good excuse.
Yeah.
It gives travel a meaning, which is often not the case for a lot of people.
Very true. Very true.
Some people
I don't think we would have ever even gone to the UK if it wasn't for the World Cup either. Like we made it an excuse to be like, you know what? Let's just go.
Yeah, and I know maybe that'll be our thing. Like we go to these places where the ICC events happen.
Yeah. That's a very good endeavor in itself.
I know people who are like huge Coldplay fans who like plan their trips around Coldplay concerts and like, oh, they're going to Europe, so we'll just go to Europe and then we'll see the show, but then we'll also like,
travel
go
around
to Spain or whatever, right? So yeah, I guess you give some meaning to your travel.
Yeah. But, like, we're in the new normal. COVID is around. I'm guessing, and I'm sure that must have affected your travels.
Be devastated.
Yeah.
I agree 100% with COVID, especially the last travel that I did. So the last two places that I went to take pictures of and stuff, the last two countries I would say are UAE and Oman. And those weren't actually even planned travels. Those were actually layovers that I had in both UAE and Oman. So UAE, I think I had a 20-hour layover over there.
Yeah.
So I was going to meet up with a friend, but she was busy until her work finished. So before that, I did the same thing. I hired an Uber.
Yeah.
And before I even left for UAE, I planned and made sure that I know which exact places are in Dubai. My layover was just in Dubai.
Yeah. How long was your layover?
20 hours.
20 hours. This guy pulled a 24-hour one. So,
But I didn't get the visa, so I was at the airport for 22
which
hours.
is even worse.
Where was that?
Abu Dhabi airport.
Abu Dhabi. Yeah, they're a bit more stricter. Emirates actually gave me the visa, so I was happy about that.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
okay.
That
Emirates.
works so perfectly.
Not because of that. They just have a policy. If you have a more than 15-hour layover, they give you a visa.
So that's
for
Dubai,
free.
right?
That's Dubai.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll keep that
I
in
was
mind.
at the Etihad, right? So Abu Dhabi. It was a nightmare.
I've had that exact same situation as well, and I'm not.
Hey,
not
cheap
happy
flights,
at
right?
all.
Like we were talking about that. You have to plan your way. Like
Yeah.
you could have gone the business flight way and gotten like the $2,500 flight, but then you probably wouldn't be able
Yeah,
to do a
as
lot of
students,
other
we need
things.
to find those corners to cut corners, basically.
Yeah,
the
and
prices.
if you would now have a story to tell now.
I was the dumbass.
Otherwise,
that stayed at
but
Abu Dhabi
that's a story in itself,
Yeah.
right?
I can now relate to Tom Hanks from the terminal.
So wait, so you got the 20-hour layover, you got the visa, you got the Uber driver, and then you went across.
Got the Uber driver, and I just went across with him,
Yeah.
and he was also surprised, even though he was a Pakistani.
Yeah.
But he was also very surprised, and he really liked the idea as well, and he was willing to wait for me wherever we went, even though I had like my bag with me and stuff. He was still willing to wait, which was very nice of him,
Yeah,
because
for
that's
sure.
something that I wouldn't be able to, I wouldn't be able to trust a random person. Hey, can you just hold my bag over there?
I guess it is also like the novelty of like, oh, I'm going to be an element of this guy's story who's actually trying to do something really cool.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I would be very into that too. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll wait. No problem, man. You do your thing. And just show me the pictures after.
What's next on your bucket list? Like, do you have any countries specifically planned out?
So I have a bunch of places in Canada specifically that I have sort of planned out. I did do a bunch in Ottawa, which was I think last year, if I'm not wrong, or 2 years ago. I went to a bunch of places in Ottawa that had a couple of old Canadian coins and old Canadian notes. So Canada right now specifically does not have a lot of places on its own notes. There's only one, the $10 note, that has, well, the new $10 note. I've already gone to Winnipeg to actually take the picture over there. But the old one, it's in Jasper. I'm taking that picture.
Yeah.
The older, I think, horizontal $10 note.
Okay.
The new one is the vertical one.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen.
I have
those
not.
ones.
I have not checked it out. I haven't used cash in a while.
But that's the first thing I always see if I ever get
Yeah.
a new note. I'm always like, okay, what's on the back of it?
That's
Let
such
me
a
see.
keen observation that like a lot of people won't have. Now that you probably have that skill, is like whenever someone hands you money, you're just like taking a peek. Oh, where is this from?
Yeah,
What
where
this?
exactly is this from? If
Yeah.
I go to a new place, well, to be honest, now if I ever go to a new place,
Yeah.
before I go there, I always look at, okay, what's there that I can actually take a picture of?
Yeah. What does it
And what are the places that I can actually go to?
That is so
go to
interesting,
for
man.
that.
Did you ever think about like blogging this?
Yeah, I do actually. So I do have it on my Instagram.
Yeah, but like
Which is-
as like a proper blog, or maybe a vlog, start a YouTube channel. That's so interesting.
Vlog is something that I have thought of.
Yeah.
I just never, started it as a vlog. So part of me is like, oh, if I didn't do all of the old ones, why should I start now?
Mm-hmm.
But part of me is also saying, okay, you know what? Next one, why not?
Yeah.
Why not go
Absolutely.
for it?
Absolutely. I would sign up for that.
But there's also a website for that. It's called currencyproject.co.
Yeah.
So that's a website that I've set up. It's not really blogging, but I have written about the
Yeah.
experiences. If you open up every picture, there's a small blurb about like my travel and stuff and how
Yeah.
I went to those places, etc.
And you can also find Emaad's blog at Paracha.
Yes, that's the Instagram. Paracha, Paracha Explorers.
We'll put it on the thing.
Awesome.
We'll put it on.
But we have a really weird connection in the sense where when I first met you, we kind of hit it off. You were, I think, the vice president of the Pakistan Students Association at UofT Scarborough. I was the president of the cricket club. We met for an event that we were organizing together, and then I added you on Facebook, and we had this very weird mutual connection. So the mutual connection was Ibtihaj Rizvi, who is my childhood friend. We grew up together and played cricket in the same neighborhood. And I think you went to school with him at IBA when you were initially there.
Yeah.
Small
that
world,
was
man.
that was a very, very interesting that was a very, very interesting find. Like,
Yeah.
I was surprised. I was like, how do you know Ibtihaj? And likewise, you were telling me, how do I know Ibtihaj?
Because
Exactly.
you both were claiming Ibtihaj, like, he's my friend. No, he's my friend. I've known him longer.
And he was one of the first people that I got to know in Karachi, because I moved to Karachi in 2014 for IBA.
Okay.
To study at IBA, and I was new to Karachi. I didn't know anyone over there. Well, I went to high school in the US, but before that, I was in Pakistan for all of my life. I just went to high school in the US and then came back to go to university in IBA.
Okay.
And I didn't know anyone in Karachi. And my family was in Islamabad. I was living in the hostel at that time over there in Karachi. And Ibtihaj was actually in my, we had a couple of courses together, but the one that we remember, he definitely remembers, is Calculus 1 that we had with a very good professor. It's a good, I still talk to him sometimes, right. Professor Shahid Qureshi.
Okay.
Shout out.
Who knows if you guys maybe even know him. He definitely does.
So Ibtihaj was our main start of conversation.
Connection, yep.
And then when we got to talking, you said you were in IBA, then you switched over to UofT. How is the switch like in terms of the quality of education at IBA, and then just moving here to Canada, adjusting and adapting with the weather, the culture, everything?
No, so IBA and everything in Pakistan, to be honest, a lot of schools in Pakistan, which you guys would probably attest to, a lot of schools over there are they spoon feed you a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. So if there's like assignment deadlines and stuff, there's always somebody reminding you. The teacher might be reminding you, the professor might be reminding you. Versus over here, there may also be some teachers, professors who may not remind you. Yeah. Here, which you guys can also probably attest to, here it's you get the syllabus on day one of your class. After that, no one is going to say anything to you. No professor is going to say, "Oh, you have this thing due." You come here on week 6, you have a midterm. All of a sudden, you don't even know how you have a midterm.
Been there.
But you have a midterm. I've had that. I remember in my first 2 semesters, I've had that so many times where I was in a course. I was never paying attention. I never even looked at the syllabus. And then somebody asked me, "Oh, are you ready for the midterm tomorrow?" I'm like, "What?"
Oh my God. I've had that.
And that was linear algebra. So imagine that.
Yeah,
that was linear algebra.
For some reason, I always feel like time in semesters just flies. Like there's some sort of sorcery that just time flies. You blink in the midterms year.
That was exactly my first year in university as well. Like I was in engineering and then I switched to business now. But my first year and a half in engineering was exactly like that. Like I was so fed up with what I was studying, and then I would show up reluctantly for a midterm that I had no idea was going to be there. Yeah. And then I wrote the worst midterm, and then it just compounded, and the experience became sour for me.
Exactly.
But how did you come over that? Because it took me a while to be like, oh, I got to be responsible for that. I have to be responsible for my own self. Because even high school here is a lot like teachers on your back and being like, oh, just remember Friday you have this to do, and then they keep reminding you every day, and then it's sort of in your head to know that you have this responsibility to your school, to your grades. So then you sort of find yourself doing it. But in university, there's none of that.
You're all on your own.
None of that. No.
Unless you have a good circle of friends that are like up to date, I think you're kind of on your own.
I agree. You are. And the change for me came. I remember the first year I never paid any attention to any of my classes. I was honestly winging it. So like I said, linear algebra, I didn't even know I had a final, and I was going to. I didn't even know I had a midterm. And I was just going in with zero prep and stuff. But towards year 2 at UofT, which is technically my year 3 overall, I remember there were a couple of opportunities for physics students, for astrophysics students. Yeah, and there was an opportunity that I really, really, really wanted to take, but they had a GPA requirement. Mm-hmm. So that was sort of an indicator for me, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should actually, start focusing on my studies.
For sure.
And after I started doing that, then I kept on regretting that first year that I spent at UofT. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you know what? That I should have focused a little bit more. Like, it wasn't even that hard.
It's not that hard, yeah.
It's just a matter of me not even putting in any work.
It's the routine that kind of hits you first. Is
because you made a tremendous comeback because you graduated with high distinction.
Well, distinction.
Oh, okay. There's a difference.
Oh, wow.
There is a difference.
But that's still like over 3 3.3?
Yeah, 3.3. Yeah,
Personal question,
which is
okay.
very personal. But
Because it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Does your GPA matter?
well, does not in the bigger scheme of things. But if you want to go to grad school, it does.
Which you did.
Which I did.
Right.
Which I am actually in. Yeah.
You studied astrophysics, but you also work as a cloud consultant.
Yeah.
How did those things kind of overlap? Like, what is astrophysics? I've only heard of it. I think of stars in the galaxy.
And like Neil deGrasse Tyson.
That's pretty much it. And that is also pretty much it. That's all astrophysics. So astrophysics is us listening to podcasts from Neil deGrasse Tyson. And that's it.
Him on Joe Rogan is a whole astrophysics.
That's it. No, I'm joking. No. So astrophysics is, like you said, it's studying stars, galaxies, studying more about a universe. And interestingly, not many people know about this, but it's not just, studying, what is this? What is our sun made out of? What is that planet? What is that planet doing? It's actually studying more about humanity's past. So that's a specific branch of astrophysics called cosmology, where you actually try to understand where we came from. And the way you do that is actually looking out into the sky. So if you look out into the sky, you'll know where you actually came from. It's a weird connection, but that is actually how you find out. So that's actually what a lot of cosmologists do. And that's somewhat related to the research that I am currently doing as well. Well, not somewhat, pretty related.
So when you do look up and you're looking basically into your past, like you said, how infinitely small do you feel? Because like that's just something we fathom, right? But you've sort of done the math on it. And how does that make you feel worthless? Does that give you purpose instead? How do you reckon with that?
So I love that question, to be honest, because that's something that I honestly think about a lot, especially if I, look up into the sky and stuff. There's on my website, I've actually set up something over there. It was originally developed by another, I believe, computer scientist or astrophysicist. But it is, I can give you the link later, but it is emaadparacha.com/astro/solar system. If you just go there, it's sort of a view of, it's literally if the moon was 1 pixel on your screen, how big the universe is.
Yeah.
And you will be shocked. If you go there, you will be shocked to see how big just our solar system is. And then likewise, how our universe is. And what you realize is that space, the word space, is very true to its meaning, because there's a lot of space in the universe. The universe is essentially just nothing, but there's certain small imperfections in it that is us. Yeah. One of those very small imperfections is us. So in this huge void, we're nothing. Like if you put us down to like the size of a pixel on a screen, we're nothing at all in this big whole universe.
Yeah.
But the converse way or the inverse way of thinking about that is that actually gives us purpose. We're not nothing. The whole universe is nothing, but we're the impurities in it that give it meaning. Because if there was honestly nothing in the universe, then there's nothing. Yeah, what's the point?
That is insane. That is so insane. Wait. I have another question. Go. This has just become like, okay. So, aliens. Talk to me. I
personally, I know there are different religious views on this. In the concept of, in Islamic concept, there are different religious views. Some say that there could be, some say there are not aliens and we're the only ones. Me personally, as a scientist, I would say, since we have not found evidence, we cannot conclude. But just me personally, I would say there could be.
Yeah.
The chances of because there's so many different planets. You guys have probably heard of something called the habitable zone around the sun. Mm-hmm. Like the Earth is the perfect distance around the sun to have water and to have life, essentially.
Yeah.
And there's so many different planets around the universe, exoplanets around different other stars that have their own suns, and they could have life. We just don't know. And they're just so far away. So I personally think that there could be. But it's just a matter of we cannot communicate with them.
Yeah.
And
do you think they're also like gray blobs, or are they like people with hands that look with huge heads, or are they like something so like
E.T.
insignificant, like microorganisms or just germs, or
Also, microorganisms are a very viable one.
that's the one that people root for mostly. They're like, that's probably the case.
That's probably the case. But intelligent life, again, like I said, we can't rule that out because we've been here for billions of years. Earth has been here for billions of years. And likewise, the other exoplanets have been there for billions and billions and billions of years. So why would we be the preferred ones is my question. Why would just this little rock, now we go back to us being insignificant. Why would this little rock of just dirt and a bunch of other elements of the universe, why would this be the only place where intelligent life could be? Why not somewhere else? Maybe they're more intelligent. Maybe they're so intelligent that we are microorganisms for them.
Oh my God.
That could be the case. And that's why they don't even bother with us. Who knows?
Yeah.
I personally think there could be. There very well could be. We just have no idea knowing.
You said you look up to find out where we came from. There's something that science suggests that it's the theory of evolution. There's something that religion, and in our case, Islam, says. How do you believe in both? Can you believe in both? And how, explain.
Yeah, so...
You're an evolution denier?
No.
I never knew that.
Yeah, so that's a very touchy...
It's a theory of evolution.
Okay,
It's
fair.
a theory of evolution.
All right.
Well, there's nothing in Islam that actually goes against that. At least from my view. I'm not a religious scholar. From what I have read, from what I understand, there's nothing that suggests that humans have not evolved over many, 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 many years. Certainly we have, and that's how different families have different traits in them. How you two look alike versus me and my brother, we look somewhat alike as well, and so many other people. How Europeans look a certain way.
Yeah.
How people from Pakistan, India look a certain way. So there is obviously this evolution, and there's nothing that goes against it.
Yeah.
But in terms of astrophysics, I think there's, again, two different big schools of thought. One that say, because of the fact that scientifically we don't have any evidence of God, so therefore we can say that God doesn't exist. There's that school.
Yeah.
And I am on the other side where I am it actually reinforces my belief in a way.
Yeah.
Where there's structure to the universe. There's some sort of structure to the universe which I believe can't really come from anywhere.
Yeah.
There are laws of the universe. There are laws of physics that cannot be broken. Scientists have tried. You cannot exceed the speed of light. That's a proven fact.
Yep.
You can't do that. Why was that law there? Who came up with that law?
Yeah.
There must be some sort of way that law was created. How? We don't know. Well, scientists don't know. I would say, it was because of God.
Of course.
And even right now, we can model all the way up to a very, very, very small fraction of a second after the Big Bang.
Yeah.
So we can predict all the way up till there, but we can't predict exactly at the Big Bang what happened.
Yeah.
So there's no idea what was there before the Big Bang. And that's where, the realm of religion would come in my opinion.
Yeah. That's amazing. And just wow, that just blew my mind. I'm kind of speechless.
And so how does your work in as a cloud consultant that overlap? Is astrophysics something very different, or did you learn that on your own?
Yeah, so, cloud consulting, that was something that I was personally interested in well before I even started astrophysics. I used to be a freelance web developer while I was in IBA, while I was at UofT as well.
Just by the way, Emaad got featured on the GoDaddy Pro their page. So
that was another that was a small startup of mine with a friend of mine. Okay. It's a small IT startup where we help make websites for clients and businesses. But yeah, I've been doing website development for a while, and I know about the potential of cloud development, cloud consulting. And after I graduated, so before I graduated, actually, I did a research project in towards my final year, on using AI, machine learning specifically, in astrophysics. So there was a problem. It's a simple regression problem, if people understand the term. But all that we had to do was when planets are formed in early stages of their development, there's a lot of collisions happening. So if two planets collide, we don't know what's going to be the outcome. There's a lot of simulation that need to be done, and these simulations take a lot of time. So what we were trying to do is if we could try to speed up stuff using machine learning. So just essentially, if two planets collide with specific masses, speed and velocity, speed and angle, what would the outcome be? And the importance of this is our moon actually was most likely, we don't know 100%, but most likely it was formed because something collided with Earth and the moon was formed. So that's
so the moon is like a chunk of the Earth and just suspended
pretty much
because of our gravity.
Because of gravity. And so that's the
Insane.
question that we were trying to solve. We were just trying to make those simulations better using machine learning. It's a project I worked on, and then that got me into AI. And there's a lot of work being done these days on using AI on the cloud. So after graduating, I really wanted to work in the industry, and I used the skills that I had from there and started working in the cloud industry at a startup in the US. And I think that was a very good move because I got a lot of exposure on how the industry works, how lots and lots and lots of businesses, I mean, pretty much every business is nearly on the cloud these days.
Yeah, for sure. And so from the three aspects of your life that we were briefly able to touch, which one would you say is the one that you relate to the most? So the cloud engineer, would I call it? Or
Consulting.
Cloud consultant?
Yeah.
The mountaineer trekking, going to the world, tracking down currencies, or the astrophysicist? Which one most defines you? Nothing can completely define anyone, but if you were related closely to one aspect of yourself, which one would it be most?
I think you described it well in the sense of saying nothing can really, define the person specifically, but it has to be like a combination of all of them, but more so an overarching theme where I'm very curious in a way to learn about new things, and to do things that not only that wouldn't just be a challenge to me, but it's something I can actually learn a lot from. So be challenged and learn a lot, and that applies to nearly everything. Like in astrophysics, where I'm currently doing my PhD in physics, but specializing in astrophysics. Cloud consulting was something that I really wanted to go into, that industry I really wanted to go into and learn more about it. And I took upon a lot of courses after graduating over the summer to get up to speed on that. And the currency project, where I'm going to different places and trekking for 2 weeks just to take one little picture.
Yeah, 100%.
That a lot of people said you could have photoshopped. Which I honestly could have.
You could have, yeah. But that's insane that you did that because it meant something to you and it was important to you.
And interestingly, the government of Pakistan, before I went to K2, the government of Pakistan on their official Twitter page, they actually posted all of my pictures. And they didn't have the K2 pictures, so they actually photoshopped my hand and a 50 rupee note. And this is something I think it's still up on their Twitter page. I can even show you guys a link of it. This is before I went to K2. They photoshopped it with my fingers and a 50 rupee note and K2 in the back.
And I'm guessing, obviously, they did not give you credit.
No, they did not give me credit.
That's not the most corrupt thing they've ever done. So we'll give them a pass on this.
Yeah. And they did that. And a friend of mine was like, hey, like, why don't you just use that picture?
Does that bother you? Like people, I'm guessing other pages have done this as well. They've taken your project, they've posted it.
As their own,
Yeah, does that bother you that you don't get enough credit for that?
I think a lot of people are thankfully receptive enough. A lot of pages are receptive enough. So a lot of people, they've actually posted up these things, and a lot of people or a lot of pages, they don't know that it's mine. So if I ever it's a genuine mistake, and if I reach out to them, I can let them know, hey, this was mine. I'd love if you could give credits, and they do. A lot of them do. I've actually had one interesting person though message me on Instagram or Facebook. I forgot which one, but he put up the pictures that I took on his own Facebook, and he messages me later. I never see that. It's on personal Facebook, and he messages me later. He's like, hey, bro. Can I put up these pictures and can I take credit for them? Please.
What?
And I'm like, what? What do you mean? He's like, please, can I just take credit for them? And I just didn't respond after. I'm like, I don't really know what you want.
Yeah, that's
like,
insane.
That's a weird request. Like, you want these pictures to be yours? I don't know what.
Thank you for being thoughtful, for asking if you could take credit.
Yeah. I mean, like, why would you even ask that, you know?
Wow.
But that was a very interesting. That was an interesting ask. But a lot of people, thankfully, have been receptive. Government of Pakistan, though, did not respond. Even though a lot of people from Reddit actually, I was actually informed of that on Reddit because, like I said, I've put these pictures up on Reddit a lot, and a lot of people responded, messaged me on Reddit saying, "Hey, Government of Pakistan put up your pictures," and they were actually the people who messaged Government of Pakistan a lot, but to no avail, unfortunately.
Yeah, like copyright credit stuff in Pakistan, we're centuries away from that right now. We have lots of my artistic friends are like crying about like, you know, some of their drone shots got copied from like big television networks like ARY and Geo, and they never got them back or got paid for them or any compensation.
Yeah.
So
it's sad, unfortunately.
But you know what? This was amazing. This was so interesting. This been a lot of different places that I didn't think it would go, but I'm so glad you came. What's the future looking for you for the next 6 months? Do you have anything planned? Do you have any place you're going for the currency project or any astrophysics? I don't know what they do. Like anything that you plan
PhD.
Yeah, PhD. Well,
Plug yourself.
currently doing my PhD right now. So I actually just started. I finished my master's in August, like a month ago, and I just started my PhD. So hopefully, there's a lot of ifs because of COVID and a couple of other things as well. So my PhD right now is we build space telescopes. We create, we essentially build a space telescope and launch it into space by using balloons. So our whole goal of our mission is to create something that's as good as Hubble or even better than Hubble, but 1,000 times cheaper. Just because we send it up in a balloon instead of rockets and all the way into orbit. Ours doesn't go into orbit; ours stays there. And we have a launch coming up next year in March, April 2022. And depending on the COVID situation and a couple of other problems, such as NASA is NASA regulations. Just a little problem. NASA regulation, because NASA is the one that actually sends us into space, and I'm a Pakistani citizen.
Oh, crazy.
So it doesn't really
Those
sit
two
well,
don't go together.
unfortunately.
No.
And recently, New Zealand and Pakistani citizens don't really sit well either,
No,
unfortunately.
they do not.
So we're working on like approvals and stuff like that. So if all the stars align, hopefully then I can go to New Zealand next year to help launch the space telescope. Other than that, it's mostly just working on that and trying to find a little bit of travel here and there, if possible.
That's insane, man. I'm so glad you came. This was
Thank you.
learned so much.
It's been a long time in the making for this to happen, and I'm glad that you were able to come in, take time. And thanks a lot.
Thanks for
Thank you for inviting. And like you said, it's been a long time since we even met each other.
Hey, you're invited at the show anytime.
Mine and your interactions at UofT were basically crashing into each other at the library a night before the exam.
Literally. And then talking about how we can defer it.
Exactly. Diarrhea, by the way.
That's the best excuse that you can ever have.
But thanks for coming in. You're welcome anytime you want. We can talk more astrophysics. You could be the show regular Neil deGrasse Tyson if you want.
This could have its own segment.
I would love that.